Am I crazy for trying to take my own maternity photos? No, crazy is a very strong word, but today we're gonna get into the second method I use to make that happen. So this is the second part of a two-part video about how I did my own maternity photos, which is super fun that I did that, I think. But it wasn't the easiest process, so I'm gonna try to break it down for you. In the first one, we talked about how I use the Canon app to make it happen and shoot it remotely. And in this one, we're gonna talk about grabbing stills from video. Now, I'm gonna admit, this method was very experimental. With the first method, I've used it many times for a long time, and with this method, I've basically only used it to make YouTube thumbnails. I had a general idea about how I was going to do this, but I didn't really know how it was going to pan out. I was uncertain about what settings to use, and like I said, in general, it was experimental. So I'm really glad that it did work in the end. The reason that I wanted to use it for this is because for the first one, it was just me and my husband. I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and it's really easy to tell an adult what you want them to do, and as yourself, pose yourself. But for this one, I was working with my stepchildren, my bonus daughters, and kids are less capable of following direction and having patience. And so I decided to use this method so that we could keep moving, we could do it a lot more quickly, and we could still get some sweet moments. So I would say this method was a lot more forgiving because we were just on video. So all we had to do was get into a pose and pause, and then we would be able to grab a still from that. It was also fun because I was able to have my screen pulled out here so that we could see ourselves. We could all see what it looked like on camera. And I think the kids kind of found that fun too because they could see themselves, even though I'd be like, okay, now don't look at the camera for this moment, look at my belly, whatever. It still made it fun because they could look up and actually see what the final result was going to look like. So here's the gear that I used for these photos. My Canon EOS R6, a 24-70mm, and a tripod. Oh, and same as last time, a sunny day. It always helps to have some natural light coming into your house. For my settings, I shot in movie mode on 4K with my ISO as low as it could go and my shutter speed around 1/100. I didn't know if I could go higher or not, but that worked because we were shooting in my house using natural light, so it needed to be lower anyway. So similar to method one, a struggle with this was finding the right angle. Anytime you're doing a selfie, it's hard to know how high or where exactly to set up your camera so that it looks the way you want it to. Whereas if I were photographing a person myself without a tripod and photographing a subject, not a selfie, it would have been a lot easier. You just kind of figure that out intuitively. But when it's on a tripod, it's a totally different situation. So that took some trial and error. And I mostly had myself in the frame for this and didn't let the kids in because I didn't want them to lose patience and then not have energy for the actual photos that we were going to take. A huge perk of using this method was the autofocus tracking. So it would track myself and the kids as we were taking the photos and constantly fix the focus. So when I used the remote app, I would have to poke the screen so it would focus on me, but with this, it would just automatically do that. If I were to adjust anything next time, I would just shoot at a lower f-stop. I regret shooting at a higher f-stop like I did, but I wasn't sure how it was going to work out, and I wanted to have a little bit of focus margin, so I was shooting at a higher f-stop so that we might have a little bit more wiggle room with the final result. The cool thing about this is it took 5 minutes tops. So kids have very small attention spans and they don't really love getting their pictures taken normally. So thankfully it went very quickly and we were able to get some really sweet shots, like in a lot of combinations. So myself with the girls as a whole, a couple poses with that, and then one with each girl. Aesthetically, these aren't my favorite, but in terms of sentiment, I love them. And honestly, it's better than not having anything at all, which is why I'm making this video. I want you to be able to make your own photos at home so you can capture the things in a professional style using a DSLR. So those are my two methods for how I did my maternity photos at home in 2 different settings, 2 different days, 2 different styles. If you haven't watched my first method on using the Canon remote app, be sure to check that out. I think it's really interesting how you can use that. And I'm sure there are a lot of creative ways that you can use both of these methods to get more photos of yourself and your family for memories for years to come. As always, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you like what you see on my channel, subscribe so you know that you can see more. And I love comments so that we can get a conversation going about these unique processes that I'm using, and also just learn from one another about the photography process and creating your own work. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that this was inspiring or educational for you, and have a great day.